Someone must have got mad 'cause I said that y'all are vibe snatchers and, you know, it's not really your... That didn't make no sense. So we're going to wait 1 minute. Kids over there on their math learning. Are y'all... Hello?
Stop.
Y'all logged into your math?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, but I need help.
What happened? Where you at now?
It's telling me to do this. And every single time I get it wrong, I have to start over.
Okay. So 2.78 times 100. Start by showing 2.78 on the place value meant. So ones, tens, hundreds. So the 2 goes in the 100 spot. The tens is the 7.
And the 8 is the 1.
Mm-hmm. Should be right.
Mom.
Okay. 2, 7, 8. You see where the decimal is? See, this is the decimal.
Mm-hmm.
So this is ones, tens, hundreds. You see where the decimal is? You put that, make sure it goes in between, the lining of where the decimal point is.
Mm-hmm.
You get? Okay, what's yours? The 3 is ones. The 10 is a 9. No. Hold it. Excuse me, everybody. No. This is ones. That's 3. The tenths is 9. And the hundreds is that 1. So try it now.
Dad?
What are you talking about?
Oh.
Or you're not lining up the 4.21. See that? 4 point, then 2, then 1. See? Hey, everybody. Kids needed my help with some work they're doing right fast. So you see where the decimal point is, right? This is what they're doing. Hold on. They're learning the decimal system. Hey, everybody. So you see where the decimal point is. The 3s is the 1s. The hundreds is next, and then that last digit, which is a 1, that's the 100 spot. See where you see where the decimal is, right? You line it up right there. So 3 goes here. Then think of that decimal because it's already here in the little placeholder spot. Now you put the rest of the digits where they go in order. See? 3.91. See? So go to the next one. Let me see. Let me see if you got it. Hey, everybody. Yay. Okay. Look at you. Okay, look at you. What you got?
I'm trying to choose the right one so I won't I'm trying to.
All right. So now you have to, it's already done for you. You just got to choose the right format. Okay. So look, it's the same thing. No different. It did not change. Okay. So here. So which one? because it's not going to turn into it's not going to be a decimal anymore when you multiply it by 100. It's going to change. So it's going to develop into ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, the other direction. So you see this one? Yeah, we're doing that right now. You see this one right here, right? All of them are actually right in what you learned. Now it's time for you to bless you in a good way. Bless you in a good way. Now you gotta, you're welcome. Now you have to focus on it where if you did the problem 3.92 times 100, it'll actually transform into, basically you're gonna move the decimal over. Let's see. So thanks for the likes. Let's see. Okay, so this is a story. I was gonna give insightful insight on Lot's wife and him having instruction to lead them out of what they would call damnation and destruction. So basically, I'm not really gonna get all deep. It's just plain and simple to the point, and the meaning of it, accountability. So he did what he had to do according to a lot of people when it came. I mean, he has his mess, everybody do. But when it was time to leave and his wife turned into salt and whatnot, I just wanted to say something about it. I said something already on my other channels that I have. And I thought it was very, very important. So I said, I'll just do more of this kind of stuff. So anyway, when leaving, she looked back and turned into a pillar of salt. Salt can be destructive. It can be purificational. It depends. So in this case, it was more destruction based. When you cry, you have the little salty tears, stuff like that. So in many ways and none, that is also looking back in what you are working on, what you're working toward, and looking back causes problems. But then we hear things like, when I look back on what I've been brought through. So basically, when you are going through what you're going through, you don't look back because you're still sensitive to that replication. So had she had done so after the fact of it was over, it would have been more feasible. During the process, it can be painful, or it can bring up, feelings and emotions. Thus, what they call it, disobedience is what it actually was. So he ended up losing his wife. Lot ended up losing his wife. So moving forward, when you go into the story, they call it, when you move into the story, they call it, basically, he had his daughters and, no wife. So now he's in a state of depression. So these are the stages of change when it comes to leaving a place that has been marked a certain way. Not every place is marked as Sodom and Gomorrah. It may be things like that going on over there. But, no shade. It's just, it is what it is. So if you are in a relationship, I want to base it off relationship of love. I want to focus more on that so I can prepare myself for, the new things that I know is coming for myself. It doesn't have to be in the form of a marriage. It could literally be to help somebody else understand theirs. So many people want to look into what you got going on and don't even understand what it is that you actually have going on, thus of what it is. And even then it doesn't matter because they're still lacking. Keep moving. They're always going to find a thing that's wrong or try to intervene in what you have going on. It doesn't matter what you do. So, with her looking back, this is more of I thought you said you wasn't going to bring that up again. I thought we moved on from that. I thought we moved forward from that. I thought it was going to be different. You said you promised you wouldn't bring this up. We are working on our marriage. We're working on our relationship, blah, blah, blah. And in a lot of cases, bringing it back up is not necessarily the problem. It's the process. So you may do things that you don't want to do in the process of trying to move forward. So as they were leaving, destruction, hellfire, damnation, I would like to call it. That's what I'm going to say. Her looking back is also a form of remember when, or bringing up something, or trying to make a point of something that is already considered damaged, destructive, and broken. Not that she doesn't have a right to do so, but there's a time and a place for everything. And that right there, I don't know if that was the time. Because that was the time for them to be leaving and getting away. So in that case, she turned into salt. From what the word says. So moving forward, with Lot being with his daughters, this is where it's still a problem. Because due to disobedience has, I would say, transmuted and configured into depression. So now Lot has experienced depression. And I guess to synthesize and soothe that depression, alcohol became a substance. But this was more like, a lot of people say, well, it was introduced by someone else. It's always Adam and Eve theory is what I call it. It's this woman you gave me. Or no, it's these girls who gave it to Lot, and that was his daughters. And from what it was depicted as, they were being demonic, evil, and wasn't necessarily Lot's fault. But here's the problem with that. It's still accountability that needs to be taken. Because when it comes to depression and him being upset in his most vulnerable moments, he might have engaged in drinking. So let's fast forward to how that may look today. If you go out with your grown children, everybody is dressed up, family, maybe a little family get together, not just an immediate family situation. It can be others, maybe a little dinner party, but there's alcohol involved, like there's wine and whatever. But then somebody brings up something that happened years ago, or they bring up something that happened last week, last month. It really doesn't matter. But because of the invoking of spiritual replications of drinking dismay the situation where arguments can arise. So in so many ways and none, not this is why people say your story that is not their story, that is not my story, this is that's your side, or it's different ways and none that would be. So I'm bringing that up to manifest the fact that this is what manifesting is in a certain attribute of practicality, where it's not the same thing, but it can be looked at as the same attribute, but not the same connotation. So going back to the basis of this live, where with Lot then moving forward and in the state of depression because he lost his wife and the drinking, and that could be a significance for someone. Well, talking about his daughters gave him the drink and beverage, it's still his responsibility, because in depression he went from trying to get disobedience situated, and it ended up being a depressing situation, unfortunately, not just for him. I mean, he was even willing to give his daughter away in the process. So, sometimes, you're not thinking clearly when it was, you're all in a situation of peril. So the disobedience was already within Lot as well. So thank God for who the Most High is, because man can be quite dumb, make silly decisions, and act like they know everything because they are, I guess, following some kind of guide, or they're very enlightened, because at times you still need to lean not on your own understanding most of the time. So anyway, with him moving on and being in a state of depression, the word depression, because he was upset. I mean, they would say he was stressed. He just lost his wife. Let's get into the details of the emotional intelligence of it. That's what it would be. So if that's the case, in the word depression, you have press. Not everyone presses forward like everyone else. Sometimes they choose to make music, and sometimes they choose to write a book. And even those things can be taken out of context of what you truly meant by what your story is, what your position was, your journey, and all these things, because other individuals latching onto you as if they have a understanding, overstanding, and understanding on an outer standing perspective of who you are, or what something was, or no, this was this, that was not that, you're lying, and all this stuff. It's just, the list goes on. So I say that to say this: he still was supposed to press. Now, in depression, there is the word press. That is your freedom of speech. If everybody remembers First Amendment, you have to assemble, all those things that's beautifully renowned in the First Amendment. So with that being said, it depends how you look when it comes to what you are addressing. And yes, I said how you look when it comes to addressing, because even with how you look, a lot of times that's not necessarily how you are addressing it. So just because they look like they don't have any money doesn't mean they don't have any money, or something like that. And a lot of times it is what it is. But it's important that even in depression that you keep pressing, you keep speaking, you keep assembling yourself when it comes to protection and certain things that needs to be protected, especially your speech. So the next one will be deliverance, because eventually you'll get some kind of insight, notice, message, something. Literally, accordance to whatever you assembled, pressed, or spoke of. So it's still his responsibility in his depression, as we all, even in our lowest moments, it's still your responsibility in your depression to press. And a lot of times, okay, we're forgiven for a lot of those low moments of ours, but when it becomes a pattern, there's something else that needs to be taught there. And 9 times out of 10, that's accountability. Because, you have so many people who take account for you. They, until some people feel like you might use them. Thus, maybe even people who lied and said that you would, and you're the type, like you will make sure that you are in communication. You always give back as best you can, stuff like that. People go through things. This doesn't mean to stop building on your spiritual credit, because this is what this is. As a spiritual accountant, that is a trademark service of mine that I do in my business. When it comes to your deeds that you do, because it's one thing to have a deed that has words and listings and what someone owns and assets, but it's another when you can have a good credit score, but when it comes to your spiritual credit, it's poor. And then people realize it's more than just your actual credit here, which still is a great foundation of your physicality of things. But when we talk about deliverance, 9 times out of 10, the depression that comes with it, it can be very drastic, whether it's financial, romantic, or either platonic, sociatable, we're just colleagues, work buddies, whatever. You still need to take account of the things that you do when it comes to what has been done, what is being said, even if people are going to bring things up. But what you did in that moment, it doesn't even have to be depressing. It just sounds like depression for a lot of people. That's what they would call it. A lot of people don't like to use certain words, but you can still find goodness in things that you feel isn't good for you. As far as, for example, you shouldn't get mad at someone using the word depression. Oh, you seem depressed. And somebody would probably, for example, get mad. And why would you get upset? They have a right to use that word and speak to you as such. Your response is the biggest one. So they may say, oh, you seem depressed. You look depressed. Are you okay? And you will just say no, or yes. However, you will answer, let's just say, like you say, no, I may not be, obviously I'm not doing okay, but I'm going to keep pressing on. I'm not depressed. You don't have to answer in a certain way. And a lot of times, people get upset with your remark as if you are being an arrogant smarty pants. Like if you knew so much. Like I had a dream of a family member telling me that if you was so smart, da 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 da, and that just lets you know that the hate and the animosity was always there. Both ways. So it doesn't matter. Be who you are called to be. Some people just left behind. And it's sad because don't let it depress you. This is why isolation is transformation, because going through all of that, it helps you not carry those feelings with you when it's time to be truly delivered and relinquished of the issues. So just not, relationships are not going to be sunshine and rainbows every day. But when it comes to even Lot needed to learn a lot. Because now that your partner is not here, don't use it as a leverage. I've heard some people say, "Oh, if it wasn't for her doing what she did, their family would have stayed together." It's still your responsibility to keep it together. You should never choose a mate or someone to mate with that can't keep it together, regardless of who falls apart and what's the problems. Especially if both of you knew what had to be done, but only one was doing the best they could while the other still was looking back. And a lot of times people bring up what you have done in the relationship as if that's a validational point for their actions. Well, you went through my phone, so that's why I did it. Or you went through my email, so that's why I did yours. But y'all are separated or something like that. So that gives you a right. And a lot of times they will say that's a form of karma. But then when you persevere and go, you work through those things, because people still have a lack of accountability. Accountability is a compound word. Not even it is a substance of its own. It's a compound word. It's two words put together because it takes two. And a lot of times, just because this person is the one who looks over the account all the time doesn't mean that the other person, according to the abilities that can be used at the time, can't multitask. Just like the person looking over the account, they could multitask, because if you're looking at accounts and you're looking at everything, you can form your own ability over time to have a better outlook on the accounts. Thus, the person that has abilities where they're very multifaceted, very dovetailed, very, they can do a lot at once, they can then find, a way to calm down their energy of being able to do so much, slow down and take a look at what the person is looking at when it comes to the account. Because a lot of times the doer may feel like, oh, well, I'm using all my abilities and everything I can do when it comes to the abilities that needs to be used for whatever is needing to be taken account of. And it gives them a chance to look at what the person is looking at when it comes to the accounts. And then they can actually get a better perspective of how to use abilities, how to maybe tweak an ability a certain way. So then maybe they're not doing so much. Maybe they could calm down a lot of those abilities, put some down so they can just focus on this one, because that's the most potent, or just knowing how to balance those things out properly according to the abilities. So even it's a compound word. And I say that in closing to say it takes two. Don't be so focused on Lot's wife and what she did and her looking back as an account of even moving forward. Lot was supposed to keep pressing on. So much is given, much is required. And you should never choose a person when it comes to mating and relationships. You should never choose a person that you can't actually depend on, even if you might be the one, because it happens, to look back and then have to endure some kind of unfortunate event or just an unfortunate situation. Not that something will be permanent, because a lot of times, it just happens. That doesn't necessarily mean that anything's going to happen to you. But then again, for a lot of reasons than none, according to how the story sounds like obviously she's not coming back. But the pillars of salt can be crying. Don't you cry tears and they're salty? So just because something seems like it's literally over doesn't mean it is. No. This is more like, it depends on the situation. Because again, like I said in the beginning of this video, everyone's story is different. Not everyone's story the same. That's why some people want to life swap with you. Then they get mad. And I'm gonna say something about that before I go. The problem with life swapping that a lot of people who do that stuff don't realize is this. You life swap with somebody, but the problem is this. When they overcome, do things that you should have done, because they want your story, and then you got, apparently they try to say you got theirs. But then when you do theirs better, when you do what they should have, now they're upset. Now they're really angry. It happens. Because you can't mess with someone who wasn't messing with you in the first place. I don't care if your life swapping was complete and it worked. Remember, you asked for whatever they want or whatever you thought they were getting, because things are subjected to change. So a lot of you need to chill with that life swapping stuff. It's not going to end well for you, because if someone is chosen, they call it. If they are who they are, it doesn't matter where they are. And you will be judged. But your life swapping worked, and it's, it's working, and yay. And it sounds like that person might be the one judging you in the end. That ain't gonna feel good. But your life swap worked. Be careful. So if you need me, you need me. You don't. I don't solicit people for any of my services. That's corny. Y'all have a good day. Ashe. Amen.